division. I really am pleased with how this team has come together over these last 2 or 3 weeks, and it would be wonderful to pull this thing out and get in those playoffs.
It's really about playing winning football, and it's going to take all 3 phases. It takes every guy that we have doing their job. The margin for error is small.
Provide us so many conversations and topics and angles to what we are going to see on Thursday Night Football, but it starts with the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, had this to say as to the Cowboys' best shot at making the postseason.
Our best shot, I think, is to win the division. I really am pleased with how this team has come together over these last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm excited about what we've done, how we have evolved, and it would be a fairy tale, not total fairy tale, but it would be wonderful to pull this thing out, get in those playoffs, and have this staff make a run at it. We've got the personnel that we can compete like that.
So is Jerry right? Is this the only way in to actually take over the lead in the NFC East from the world champion Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I mean, in saying that he's right, you're saying that you don't believe that any of those teams in the NFC West, not named the Arizona Cardinals, are going to stumble down the stretch, and that you believe in the top 2 teams in the NFC North. I'm almost there, but not quite. I do think the Dallas Cowboys have the ability to run the table when you look at their remaining schedule, because after the Detroit Lions game, you see a lot more winnable games, right? You've got the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Chargers at home. Then you're on the road against the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants to wrap it up.
Which would be an 8-game winning streak to close out the season.
Which is entirely possible, based on how this team is built, based on the firepower that they have on offense and how they've revamped their defense. The only question is whether or not somebody else is going to open the door, and that somebody else could be the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think more likely than not, it'd have to be somebody else in the NFC giving the Cowboys help. So I don't know that I necessarily am on board with exactly what Jerry Jones is saying, but the Dallas Cowboys will disqualify themselves if they lose another game this season. So that's why I think that in order for them to get in, table stakes is running the table. Mm-hmm. And then you'll figure it out from there.
And they're on a 3-game winning streak. You've beaten the back-to-back champs and the Chiefs and the Eagles in that streak. They could definitely win out. But even though Dak is playing at a super high level, the offense is obviously clicking. George Pickens provides a different look for them. The defense is coming along. We love what Brian Schottenheimer is doing. To think that they could run the table while possible leaves such little margin for error. And even though the Eagles are stumbling and they've got a lot of stuff to figure out, I just don't think that they'll open the door wide enough. And simultaneously, the Cowboys can be that flawless to finish the season.
So
a lot has to happen.
Yeah, so they would have to win out, obviously, as you guys are saying. So would that make tonight an elimination game for the Dallas Cowboys? If they lose to the Detroit Lions, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not a bad loss. We're not talking about a crappy football team. We're talking about a team that is underachieved based on our expectations. But they're not bad. We're not talking about a bad team.
No.
The Lions are at home, so it's 6-5-1 on the road tonight at the Lions. Is that an elimination game for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Feels like it.
Wow.
Because, I mean, you look at Philadelphia's remaining schedule, I can't find 3 losses. I can't. Like, the only 2 games that I could see them dropping, LA Chargers, although I would pick them to win that game. The Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, although I would pick them to win that game. Like, those are the 2 games where you could see them potentially losing. I don't see them losing to the Raiders or the Commanders in 2 of the final 3 weeks. I just don't see it happening. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, it feels like you're more likely than not going to have to go the wild card route.
And of those teams that you think potentially could possibly drop off, you said there's 3 NFC West teams.
Correct.
Rams, Seahawks, Niners. 2 NFC North teams, which would obviously be the Bears and the Packers. By the way, there's a 3rd team, the one that they're playing tonight, which would still have the same record, but would lose. No, would have a better record, right? But the reality is you'd have to beat them out too. Who's the most likely to fall off of that group?
Well, we're saying
that's currently a playoff team.
What we're saying is who's the team that won't get to 12 wins, right? That's what we're saying. Because if the Dallas Cowboys win out, they're 11-5-1. That tie ends up working in their favor. So which one of those teams that are in the NFC West that are currently sitting at 9 wins can't get to 12? That's the question that we have to ask. And considering what their schedules are remaining, I think it's likely that all of them potentially get to 12 wins, which is wild to say it, but I think that's the reality that we're living in.
Is it an elimination game across the way for the Lions too tonight then?
Yes.
So we're talking about loser goes Chris Paul in this.
Yeah, but I don't. Here's the thing that's crazy about the Lions. I just don't see it. I don't see it for the Detroit Lions.
You don't see what?
I don't see them being able to make a push. I don't see them being able to find a way.
So then you think neither of these teams are going to make the playoffs?
I think there's a chance that the Dallas Cowboys can make the playoffs. I think the Cowboys have a better chance than the Detroit Lions to make the postseason.
All right, so if we go through queen of all schedules, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to me, so much of that conversation is dependent on how much you believe in the Chicago Bears. And I know they have that signature win against the Eagles, which seems to legitimize them in a different way. But you're going to Green Bay, then you have the Browns, you have the Packers again, you're going to San Francisco, and you're closing out the season with the Lions, who, depending on what their circumstances are, could either be fighting for their playoff lives or want to really play spoiler. And I know that the Bears have been playing really good team football. We're believing in Caleb Williams in a different way. We're going to learn a lot about them during this stretch.
So let me go back for one thing, because we'll get to the Lions coming up in a little bit, because if they miss the playoffs, there's a bigger conversation. And if you're saying the Cowboys win tonight, potentially, and the Lions lose to go to 7-6, and then they miss the playoffs, there's a much bigger Lions conversation. But let me go back to the Cowboys part of it. Has Brian Schottenheimer done a good job in his first year? Yes. Has the offense looked unbelievable? Yes. Have they gotten more out of George Pickens than the Steelers did? Yes. Have they found a running game with Javonte Williams? Yes. Has Dak proven that he clearly is a really good quarterback and people need to put more respect on his name? Absolutely. Did they make smart trades looking back on it, playing results? Yes. Have they set themselves up for the future? Yes. All that to be true. But this is not a great year for them if they don't make the playoffs. You know, you're in Dak's prime. Like, we have to also acknowledge all the love with Brian Schottenheimer is great and all, but if you just finish with a losing record, or in their case, let's call it 8-1, I don't know if that's technically 500, but if they finish 8-1, like, yeah, you lost your best player before the season, but we can't say that's a good trade and then not blame them for not a good, like, that wouldn't be a good year for them, right? I mean, can't all these things also be true?
Well, they got to a point where they were forced to trade their best player before the start of the season.
But you liked the trade.
I did. I don't.
You don't like the idea of trading Micah. You like the idea of what they got.
No, I like the idea. I like the idea of them trading Micah.
Okay,
Parsons.
you do. Yeah,
I did. In sidebar, anybody that is jumping on the Dallas Cowboys bandwagon now, you better make for damn sure that you weren't one of them people criticizing us when I floated out the idea of trading Micah Parsons, right? You can't have it both ways. I said the Cowboys should trade Micah Parsons. They need to revamp their team, revamp their defense. This gives them the opportunity to do that, to add players to help that unit. Turns out I ended up being right in terms of a football X's and O's standpoint. So anybody that was criticizing me for saying they would trade Micah Parsons, do not jump on the Dallas Cowboys bandwagan right now. That's
all right. Shug all them up in the video, dancing, shiny
all the people up on the TV shows,
Wow.
here and other places, dancing, talking about how I was crazy about trading Micah. Don't you jump your happy ass on the Cowboys bandwagon now. Come to USL. Exactly right.
CC's a spitfire today.
1,000%. But here's the thing when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. For them to be able to overcome that, when Jerry Jones made that move, to me, is a success, especially considering you're breaking in a new head coach that nobody believed in coming into this year, and then having to deal with the tragedy of Marshawn Nealon taking his own life. The context around the situation makes it a good season, even though you might not necessarily finish with a winning record. But I absolutely anticipate that the Dallas Cowboys will have a winning season this year.
Okay, so now you actually clarified it even more for me. So basically, the way we look at it, the Cowboys, and you would say that it's a successful season, is if every team starts at 0, like a flat line, 0, right? Moments before the season started, before a game was ever played, the Cowboys did something that put them at a -2.
Correct.
So if they get to 8, for them, that's 10. Does that make sense in terms of the math on it?
It makes 1,000% sense.
Right.
I'm with you.
It doesn't mean that it's successful in comparison to other teams. It doesn't mean it's successful in comparison to what it may have looked like pre-trading Micah. It means that when you start at a minus and you end up flat, you actually have more work to do.
You know what it also does for me?
Wow, that was good.
You know
if
what it also does to me? It shows the value of Dak Prescott. Who a lot of people universally think is overpaid, making $60 million a year.
No, he's worth it.
He's worth it.
Yeah, he's worth it.
This season is showing you that Dak Prescott is worth the money that Jerry Jones is paying him. because he's been a stabilizing force in the franchise. And what do I always say about quarterback? You're a CEO, you're closer to ownership than you are the other 52 guys in the locker room. Dak Prescott has exhibited the type of leadership that you would expect in the midst of a crisis. He's the guy that has stabilized everything for the Dallas Cowboys. He's been the constant. He's been the anchor in which all of this stuff has now been built on. They used the draft capital they got from the Michael Parsons trade, went out and got Quentin Williams. They got Logan Wilson. He bought time so DeMarvion Overshown coming back would actually matter. The way that Dak Prescott played throughout the first half of the season allowed this part of the season for the Dallas Cowboys to matter. Mm-hmm. That's the value in having him.
Coming up, the other side of this. Cowboys at Lions tonight, Thursday Night Football, juicy game.